am Negan.
I am Negan.
What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. My name is Adam Vale. I'm an editor over at the Koalition.com, and tonight, and as always, I'm joined by Editor-in-Chief Richard Bailey Jr. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Adam? What's up, listeners and viewers?
What's up? This is for Season 7, Episode 13 of Fear the Walking Dead, titled The Raft. All right, real quick housekeeping. Thanks again, people, for everybody that's following us and subscribing over on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, over at the Koalition with a K.com. Check us out. We have interviews, reviews, all kinds of stuff for games, cast members, studios. We got a lot going on the site, so go ahead, check us out there. And again, thanks again for the Spotify. We definitely see a lot of people jumping on there and on iTunes and stuff. Now that I think what it is that now that it has a little bell and it has that option to follow and do those type of things, I see a lot more activity, and I think people are using those features now that they also see it, which is cool. So yeah, so if this is your first time, we cover everything The Walking Dead, so all the shows, and if the comics ever come back, we'll see where that goes, but right now it's all the shows, and there's a lot of shows, because we got these two currently running, and 3 more spin-offs in the pipeline, so actually 4 if you count that mini-series. So there's a lot of content, especially with these series. So if you're into Walking Dead and you're like, hey, I want to keep up with it, whether you watch or you don't watch it, then just follow us. This is I Am Negan. This is what we're doing. It's myself and Rich, and then Carlos comes back for the main one. We still haven't convinced him for Fear, but he's still on the fence for the other ones, the spinoffs, and it's understandable because we don't really know what to expect with the spinoffs. So we'll see how that goes. But also, if this is your first time, and just like everybody else knows, this episode, if you have not seen it, is available on Amc Plus. So if you have not watched the episode, you can go there right now and watch this episode, because it has yet to air. It will air next week, Sunday. So if you want, you can just wait, hold off from hearing this, because we will be discussing the episode, and it will have spoilers. So there you go. This is a heads up, people. So go watch on AMC Plus. If not, hold off, wait, watch the show, come back, see if you have the same thoughts that we have. All right, so 3, 2, 1, boop. Oh, man, this episode was a hit or miss for me. It had a little bit of everything, because at first I was getting excited, because I was like, all right, where we saw JD Sr., he gave his life for baby Mo. And we see a lot of other characters that we can presume are also on their way out. We know a little bit, real world news regarding certain characters with the actress that plays Alicia. Right? What was that, Rich? You mentioned she has that other show, right? Another show in the pipeline.
Yeah. So yes, her name is Alicia Debnam-Carey. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. She landed a starring role on an upcoming Hulu show called Saint X. And that show, the filming for that show starts the exact same time as the filming for season 8 of this show. So obviously, if the character is still around, she can always come back later in the season, I assume. But I think it's going to be very hard to convince people because she is the lead on this show. She is the lead star on the show. So obviously this is something that if the show is successful and it survives past 1 season, then she's going to be focused on that. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to try to tell people, oh, this character absolutely will make it, especially when we know that the character also has a terminal situation now.
Yeah, she's sick. She's missing a hand. She's got issues going on. She's having visions. We still haven't seen her mom, Madison. We know that actress has returned to reprise her role. We haven't seen her pop up yet. I was thinking that she's just going to be a vision, that type of situation, a Harry like Dexter. But if she leaves, if Alicia's leaving the show, there goes that idea. And at this point, we're either going to see Madison appear before the mid-season break or at the end of this season. because we definitely know it's been picked up for season 8. So,
Well,
go ahead.
the only thing I could think of is obviously she does not win the war with Strand. He kills her, and then her mother comes in to avenge her death.
Mm, it's that. Well, we'll get into that because they threw some curveballs at us with all this. So, especially with this episode, because of course, like you just mentioned, it sounds like she has other projects down in the pipeline. So she could be leaving, she could be staying. But then again, on the show, they've already, in a way, have a safe bet of writing her off because she's been bitten. She's missing a hand. She's got vision. She's got other issues going on, and she still gets the fever. So, how long can you have her linger that way without turning? That's, you know what I mean? People are going to be like, hey, we've seen people just get a nick, on their neck and turn. So it's like, what is going on here? So we'll see. But we'll get into this episode. So it kicks off where it ended in the last episode. We see Morgan, and he's with baby Mo, and he gives a call to our boy, Dwight, and he starts telling Dwight that he needs some help. I was like, oh, what's going on? And he's walking from that area from where Strand's tower is with all those walkers. Now, we knew some of them were following him, but he says all of them were following him. And maybe that is the case. I don't know. That I know the CG, they did some great work with that, and they talked a little bit about what was going on because they are still dealing with COVID protocol, so they couldn't have all of them. But it's interesting, and then it's cool. It's important because if you're saying that all the walkers have left to follow one man, they're that hungry, they're like, oh, we're all just gonna go follow this one guy, then there you go. He's right, attack now, because there's no walkers there. That whole mode of walkers is gone. So I know that there's some, we're gonna get to the raft and all that, but for me, this was the beginning part of it. This really made more sense to me. So does that make sense though for you, of wow, this is possible that Morgan, just being one person, lured all the walkers away from the tower?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it pretty much continues the last episode when, John Dory Sr. gave his life to protect baby Mo. And then you see you can see some of the walkers were following Morgan. So yeah, that makes sense that they will continue that. So yeah, but that's about all I will say, that it made sense. That doesn't mean that I definitely like that direction, but it made sense for the sake of what happens next.
Yeah. Because at first I'm like, oh, okay, this sort of makes sense. And then I was thinking about it because he said all of them. Because I knew some were following. I was like, if all of them, this is really easy then. And you could have done this before. Just have somebody scream, hey, over here. And then they just go follow that guy off on a horse somewhere, which is eventually what happens in this episode. But one of the other parts of this beginning episode, and this is the namesake for the episode is the raft, is that we saw Sherry, and she found a raft. She finds a crate with one of the inflatable, souped-up rafts that has a top and this whole thing, and she finds resources. She's putting all stuff together. Dwight is like, where are you? What's going on? Oh, I'm just scavenging. That kind of upset me because I'm like, where are you? How did you find this? You're not near water. It threw me off. And then he's saying that they have their own private channel, so where people can contact for help. I'm like, anybody can call you for help and then just set you up and rob you or kill you. If Strand really wanted to get rid of them, like he made it seem like they were a nuisance, there you go. They have their own channel on the walkie-talkie. But anyway, he says that there's someone screaming for help and she doesn't have much time. He's going to go and respond. So he finds this woman. Of course, she does a traditional, it could be a man also, I'm not trying to stereotype, but it's a woman. She stumbles and falls down and has trouble getting up. Come on now, it's flat land. That makes no sense, but whatever, they went down that trope. And as she's walking, he shows up on the horse. He takes his shots. He kills some of the walkers. There's one left. That one gets too close. Sherry arrives just in time. And this is the part that I knew they were setting something up, because she says she's looking for her son. Okay? And she said her son was with her next to her. They were on a boat. And that they heard the SOS or whatever message that Strand was sending out. So this connects back to when we were asking about why he said to Wes to get the antenna. And we're trying to figure out why does he need this antenna. And that was it. That was to connect with that last scene that we saw him calling out for people that wanted to join to live in the tower. This is what they need to do. We thought it was to a specific group, but it turns out it's not. It was sort of like a cry for help for anyone. Who knows? I mean, there was that one episode that we saw like a montage of people showing up at that phone booth asking for help, and he was just turning them away. So that could be that there was other groups that he turned away, that he's like, hey, if you come help me in this fight, then you can come and live here. But she said she was on that boat with her son, and they docked, and she wakes up, and the son is gone. And so she's looking for her son. And Strand was like, Dwight was like, well, we have a beef going on with the people that run that place. But your son might be there if that's what's going on. So, yeah, we'll help you out. You can get over there. And Sherry's upset by that. But on my end, and the way I saw it, that makes perfect sense. This woman has no beef. Yes, she's going, and he was like, oh, she's saying, yeah, we're supposed to be building an army to help fight, and you're sending people over. I don't see her as a soldier type. I mean, he had to save her from some slow-ass walkers, and she still fell. So I don't think that's a big concern. Her son, who knows? I don't think they even really went into detail on how old her son is and that whole situation there. But I think I would have done the same thing. I'm like, you know what, if that's where you headed, and for some reason he wandered off because she said there was no blood, there was no walkers or anything. He must have just got up and left because they didn't bite her. They could have just eaten her. So who knows? It's very strange. Why would you leave your mom, especially if you took a boat ride? But that's the antenna situation there. So that, I don't know. I see why, as we find out later in the episode, that they put all this together. But finding the raft the way they did made no sense. This random woman who was literally off the boat running around in this wooded area, and it also didn't work out well for me. But hey, this is what they implemented to set up the rest of the episode. So what did you think of all of that?
Which part specifically? You're talking about the
any part, like the raft, how we found the raft. Did that work for you? This going out into a desert area and then finding this raft and supplies, and then also this random woman that they bump into who's literally off the boat.
To be quite honest, none of that made any sense to me. I think there's a lot of issues with the show, right? As we said last week, you have these episodes where the characters are outside and they constantly have to put masks on and take them off and all this other stuff, and while having conversations with other characters. And I think obviously the point of that woman was basically to try to create doubt between Dwight and Sherry, because Dwight said, you're better off staying with Strand. And Sherry is saying, no, I don't agree with that. So, and then they had other conflict in this episode, but I think that was just there to start a conflict between those two characters that would continue throughout the entire episode. But her finding the raft, I guess, as a means of escape, yeah, I mean, that made sense, but they had to explain what that raft was about beyond what we saw in the very beginning.
I mean, and my whole issue, and I feel like I'm always bringing this up, but man, I wish there was a map, because they seem like they're so close to each other. The submarine seems to be close to the woods. It's also close to where Dwight and Sherry are, which is also not too far from where Strand and the tower is, and it's just there's no sense of distance. Like, that's one of the things I really loved about Game of Thrones. Is that you would have a battle going on, and it's like, oh, well, how come so-and-so group isn't helping? Well, they're still 2 days out in travel, and then you would see an episode of them still traveling and having their own adventures, because they're still trying to get there. It's not like, oh, yeah, we can just walk over and we're here, and that's the way this feels. All right. So the submarine made it seem like it was way off, because they've had shots of the submarine and you can't see a building in sight. It looks like it's just out there by itself. But clearly, it's not that far from the tower if you can walk there like Morgan did. He didn't say, all right, I have a resting spot where I camp because I do that trip from the submarine over to the camp, rest, then I continue on to the tower. No, everybody just seems to be able to do this all within an hour or so. We don't see, right? Because everything is happening in one day. This whole episode felt like this was all in one day. And that's the way most of these episodes are. It doesn't matter the travel, where they're going, what's happening. This is all, boom, one day and a day in the life. So it's not as if, like some shows where it's like time has passed or it's nightfall this day. Is that like Walking Dead has done that, but we're not seeing that here, and it just frustrates me because it just takes me out of it when you see something like this. It's like, oh yeah, you can just go up the road, there you go. Okay, you're there. Oh, if you go up this road, you hit the submarine. Oh, well, guess what? We're gonna go to the bunker soon. We all know where that place is now. Man, all right, but I mean, we continue on. They send her on her way. They head over to help Morgan. Morgan shows them what's going on with the walkers, and they're like, all right, fine, we'll help you. But then at the same time, you have the Rangers that show up and start shooting at them, which is kind of crazy because they know he's carrying a baby, and the baby is screaming, has the mask on and the whole thing. But still, it's a little stressful of a scene right there to show for people, especially myself and others that have kids. It's like, oh man, because the kid is constantly crying through this episode. It's like, oh yeah, this is horrible. We know it's never going to get dark. It'll never get dark to that point. But yeah, it was just a lot of that. And so he says, right here, you take the kid, and Sherry's against the whole thing, should be with the father, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but you see what's going on here. I mean, he's got to do something. He wants to help. So they go and they take the kid off, and Morgan stays to fight the rest of these guys. So at this point, I'm thinking, hey, someone's going to die. That's the first thing I was thinking throughout this entire episode. I'm like, it's either going to be Sherry, Dwight, or Morgan. I don't think the baby Mo. That's just not happening. But I definitely saw one of these three. Did you get that feeling at any point? Rich? Oh.
Yeah, repeat that.
Do you get that? Did you get that feeling at this point that somebody was going to die, like between Sherry, Dwight, and Morgan?
Yeah, I did think that. But I guess that that pretty much is going to be saved for later in the season. Because I mean, yeah. I mean, not just those three. I would also add West as well.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll get into that whole thing too. Because in fact, why not? We'll just get into this. So while that's happening, they run off into an area where it looks like it's the bunker. For them, it looks like the bunker. If you remember, the bunker was on top of. Well, it was on the bottom of a big hotel, but that's gone now. Now it's just a doorway. And it turns out that is where the bunker is, and that's the bunker, which again doesn't resemble anything of how Alicia left. Remember, wasn't there more of a structure? Like when she left, yeah, everything was destroyed, but I just remember seeing more of a structure as opposed to just a door that just went down. I don't know. They find the bunker. Alicia shows up to help Morgan out. She says she went out there to find more people because that was her goal. She couldn't find anybody. So she's back. Again, no sense of time. I don't know how much time. Wait, did you go for a few hours? Did you go for a day? We don't know. But she couldn't find anybody to help. And then they're on the walkie-talkie. They start talking with with Sherry and Dwight. They're like, where do we go? There's all these walkers and there's all this chaos. It's like, go through the bunker. There is another path. It's a little rugged on the way out, but you could go through. And they're like, yeah, we'll do that. Now, I don't know if I would send these people into a bunker. Who knows what's down there at this point? There could be other nomads, the stalkers. Remember them? The stalkers. No one talks about them anymore, but that's still a thing. Yeah. There could be a whole group living down there. It's shelter. There's a nuke that just went off. Of multiple nukes. I don't know. Whatever. They had to go with it. And then this is where it gets interesting because there was a lot of back and forth between Sherry and Dwight. A lot of conflict and trying to figure out where this is going. And during this whole time, it was that one minute Sherry's like, "Oh, I need to get you away from this place. You need to leave. You can't go through the fight with Strand because you're gonna turn toward his side and to help." It's like and stuff that made no sense. And even when they explained it, it was like, "Oh, this is what's going on. She's pregnant, and she's not sure what to do, and she thinks that Dwight is gonna make that decision that if Strand finds out, it's gonna be like, well, you either stay here or we and join me, or else gonna kill Sherry or the baby or whatever," and put that whole ultimatum on him. And he's like, "That's not gonna happen." And also he doesn't know any of this. Strand doesn't know she's pregnant. You know, she even had the little tester and she'd never looked in, and she looked and was like, "All right, look, there we go. We're having a kid." But that whole thing, that conflict of her pushing him away and that she was going to just send him off made no sense. No sense. You just fixed this relationship. You spent the majority of this season and last season showing that it's been fixed. Because remember, we thought it was going to fall apart when she was part of that other group. And she made it seem like she was going to stay with them with the baby masks and all that.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, oh, we're never seeing her again. That's it. She's done. But no, she came back. They fixed it. They've got it back together. Clearly now they're doing their thing, and here it is. Now they got a baby on the way, and he's all happy for it. And I guess you need something to be happy about. I don't know if I would be that thrilled, only because of the current situation. It's like, where we got to live, feed this kid. We're struggling even with this other kid that's not even our kid. Do we live our life in a submarine? What's going to happen? I don't know. But anyway, they were like, you know what? Now she was like, now we have motivation to live. Now let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's go and fight. And she's all gung-ho because now she knows he's on board. Which is why would you doubt him? Why? I mean, the guy trekked across the United States to find her through Crumb Trail. Remember that time? Mm-hmm. Spending all that time looking for her. And we're like, he's never going to find her. And eventually he did. So that didn't work for me, and I guess they had to put in something to like you said, to build conflict. But for me, this wasn't it. This wasn't it, because it's not believable. It's just not. And if someone's like, "Well, how would you have done it?" I would have done it a completely different way. Take the approach of stress. It's just stress. I'm like, all right, we got to go fight. We're gonna go build. No, we're not. Why? Because we're having a kid, and now we have to get out of here. We have to leave. Because I can't fight in this condition, or when it happens, I don't want to take a chance, meaning losing a baby or that type of thing. So we need to get out of here. So how do we tell the group? And build that whole thing up of what's going to happen. How do you tell them? There's other ways to do it. This conflict between them, they're going to fight. Oh, I want you to go away and leave. And there's a raft. And she was telling him to get on a raft. Like, what? That didn't even make sense. He's getting on a raft to go where? Where is he going? You know, it's just Gilligan's Island. Like, where are you going? And then it comes up again. I thought we were done with that. I was like, all right, well, there's that. The raft. Now we know that was the whole point. She was stocking it up and everything to put her husband in while she's the one that's pregnant and she's going to stay and fight. That didn't make much sense. As opposed if she would have said, hey, I found a raft. I found this and that. And I don't know how you're going to tell Morgan them, but we're leaving. We're getting out of here. That would have made more sense. But whatever, that happens. They eventually have some little hardships getting through, but they get out. Alicia's there, and Morgan, and they're all happy. And like, oh, you made it, yay! But at the same time, there was a lot of other things that were going on with the battle, and we saw that some of because they went down there. Wes went down there in the bunker with some of the Rangers. They died, but Wes is seen still alive, but just sort of like freaked out. I don't think he dies. That's not a way to die. If anything, they would have him die on camera. I think that would be weird if he just died off camera. You know? I don't think they've ever done that in any Walking Dead show. It was just like a main character just like, oh, is he dead? Like, even when Nick died in this, we knew he was leaving the show. He didn't want to come back. He didn't want to be part of it. And then they could have just wrote him off and something, but they didn't. They had him come in and he just randomly gets shot by Charlie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think West is alive. So if anybody sees him, it's like, oh, did he die? No, he's alive. But this part, man, this whole part here that really bothered me is the Morgan. Because when Morgan plays the tape, he was like, oh, there was a tape with some music, but then it's a message from Grace. And the message says, you need to leave and take Mo with you. Find any way to go and leave. And he was like, man, I guess this is the best time to attack. And he's telling Alicia. Alicia's like, I don't know about that. I couldn't find people. He didn't mention that he has a whole crew now because of the cult people that came back. Mm-hmm. He could have brought that up. We know this. She doesn't know this. But at the same time, he then says, all right, well, I'm leaving because then Sherry and Dwight, Sherry was like, well, I have a raft. And it's full of supplies and stuff, and you can go. And he's like, yeah, I can get on a raft and go. No one stops to think, where the hell are you going to go? Did I miss that? Did they give a location? Did they say a safe place to go on this raft?
No. I wasn't. I wasn't sure about that.
Because they never did. They never said it. They were like, yeah, just get away from here. And he says, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And that's it. He's going on a trip to who knows where. He gets in the boat with Mo. He's got the supplies. You got the cult people and everybody else that was in the submarine waving them goodbye. Off you go. Where? Who knows? And if this is the way they send him off, I'm going to be very upset. And this scene brought back memories of another show that pulled this. Do you know the show that pulled this?
No, what show is this?
It's called Lost. And there was a character named Michael and his son, and they left in the same type of deal. They got off the island, and I was like, well, they're going to bring them back. And they didn't for the longest time. They just left it like that, as if like he made it home. That's it. They left. They got off. And I was like, is this what they're going to do? We're going to write Morgan and Baby Mo off for who knows how long. Maybe next season will be a time jump. And they'll have him come back, or they'll find him. Or maybe this is their way of getting Morgan to go back to the mothership, The Walking Dead. Does he come across to the Commonwealth? Because now they have the beachfront Oceanside. What's the chances that raft with Mo shows up at Oceanside? That would make much sense, but that would be good storytelling, because it's like, wait, there's a raft approaching. Who are you? And then he explains himself, and it's not until he gets brought back to the Commonwealth where who would remember him? There's only a handful that are still alive that know him. You got Daryl, Carol. I think that's it. Now I think about it, I don't think Judith was too little. I don't know if she would remember him. Negan definitely doesn't know him. So yeah, probably just Daryl and Carol that would even know, because everybody he knows, Michonne and Rick, they're all gone. Everybody else is gone. But that's the only thing I could think of, unless they're sending him off to go be a part of one of the other spin-offs. That Fear anthology. Definitely not the Daryl and Carol. I mean, whatever that one's going to be. We definitely know that's in Europe. This dude is not going to be on a raft going to Europe. That's ridiculous. He's not going to go there. So then you think about the storms and all that stuff. It just didn't make sense to go on this little raft with a paddle. You see me as a little paddle. No.
Well, in my honest opinion, not only did that not make sense, it didn't make sense for the baby to have to go through all of these traumatic moments throughout the entire episode. I would say the entire season. You had the situation last week where they had her, John had her with all those walkers, reaching for the child, ready to eat her. Uh-huh. So I mean, I just, and then in this episode, like, Dwight and Sherry are being shot at, and you have this baby. You get stuck in this rubble, in this tunnel. It's a lot. It's just a lot for that baby to go through. So Just it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's one of the things even Morgan pointed out. I hope you don't remember any of this. You know, he was saying, I hope you. Well, no, she's not going to remember any of this stuff. But man, some story you're going to have to tell her, would she believe it? Depends on wherever they end up, what kind of life they end up living. If we even see that life, I don't know. I have a feeling that when this show does eventually end, we will see her as an adult. They'll do some kind of time jump or something, and we'll see her as an adult. That was pretty much it. We do get another, which had my eyes rolling when the send off, and then Alicia was like, "Okay, everybody, we're losing daylight. Follow me." And I'm like, "You're the last person they should be following." But that's not how the show is portraying this whole thing now. Before they were, because remember they started this mid-season break with her losing everybody and they're being turned into walkers. We still don't know how that happened, but it happened. Mm-hmm. And now she's telling all these people that she's the leader. She's going to lead them into this battle. And that's it. And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, they don't really have anybody else. Dwight has really, he hasn't stepped up to that strong, like, number 2. And Morgan never really had a number 2. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, he had John. John would have been a great number 2, John Jr., but he got bit and died, and then Senior jumped in, but then Senior went the route with the tower, and then, of course, he's passed. So, it's back with Alicia. So, if she's playing this major role, and we know what we know about this new show, does she still die? Yes. I think if Madison, the mom, comes back, takes that role as leader, and that's one of the things that we first assumed was going to happen once we heard the announcement that she was coming back. We're like, oh, Morgan's leaving, right? That's it. We were like, oh, Morgan's going to go. Well, he did. He got on a raft and he sailed away. For how long? Who knows? This could be a red herring, and he could just be going around the bend and then just say, you know what? This was a bad idea. Or maybe he'll find another community. Who knows? But the other great piece, and people, if you're not watching this on AMC Plus, you really need to. AMC Plus. I almost said Paramount because I was watching damn Star Trek. But if you have to watch this because the showrunner comes on afterwards and he gives a little breakdown of the episode. And it's always good because sometimes he catches some little things that we miss. Because obviously he worked on it and he picked up. But this time I felt it was reverse. He didn't mention anything about the Morgan scene. He didn't mention anything about the boat, the raft and going away, and none of that. And I'm like, that's the name of the episode is The Raft. And you don't bring up the fact that your main character just got on one with a baby and left the show? That I found it very weird. It didn't make much sense, which tells me he didn't leave the show. Yeah. He's not gone. This is not the way you send Morgan on his way. I mean, even when he left Walking Dead proper, it still was like almost a full episode of build-up until he said, you know what, I gotta go. And he pulled a kung fu and he grabbed his staff and just wandered across America to Texas. That type of thing. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see. But overall, it had some good points. It's at least progressing the story. We're getting somewhere. There are talking points like this with the Morgan, Mo leaving in the boat, Alicia now leading everyone to fight, and all these walkers that are still roaming around that they're still trying to lure away. And there was a lot of back and forth with that. Where are we luring them to? And Alicia was like, you got to get rid of them. It's like, no. I need them. He has plans for all this, but then you just abandon all that to get on a raft and leave with the baby. Again, all in one day. All in like hours. That's a major decision to make.
Oh, yeah.
And just be like, oh, I just got this tape. She said leave. Well, I guess I'm out. Time to go. Forget about everything I just said. Remember I said we are going to take the tower? No. Remember I said we are going to go and try to save her too? Nah. I'm just going to go and raise this baby on my own on a raft. Yeah, there you go. You're laughing, and it is laughable. And that's the thing. This shouldn't be laughable. We shouldn't be laughing at this. It should stick to just the darkness that it had. There was a lot of crazy dark parts in this, and of Walking Dead, especially Fear the Walking Dead, early on. A lot of deaths, a lot of craziness happening, and then this storytelling. It's like, what's going on here? The last season was so strong with Teddy, the cult, and all the possibilities there. And then we got the nukes, and we got radioactive walkers, and we even have that now. But then they're sort of dropping the ball, like you said, with the masks and taking them on, wearing in certain spots. Oh no, this is safe, this is not safe. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you were in this last scene, same location before, and said it wasn't safe, and now you're saying it's safe. Mm-hmm. And it's like whatever works for the situation to tell the story. Whatever. Well, I'm hoping for the best. I'm sure AMC, the higher-ups already know what's in planned for the script for season 8, which is why they renewed it. And also the ratings. Yeah, and that's the thing. People don't understand. They're like, oh, well, who's watching this? Well, millions of people still watch this. Don't get it wrong. People still watch it. That's the main reason why we have all these other spin-offs. It's still coming out in the works. It's not a failing IP. People watch The Walking Dead. People are interested in The Walking Dead. It maybe isn't up to par what we were hoping for, especially not from Walking Dead proper in the earlier seasons. But it's still fun TV to watch. Now, we know that some of the other spin-offs are going to take different approaches. Sort of like what we're seeing with Star Trek. We got a little bit of everything. We got Picard, and he's going in a horrible direction with his characters and all stuff going on the current planet. And we got the New Worlds one that just came out, and that one's going more of the traditional Star Trek approach, and if just like a space trip of the week type of thing. So we're going to have a little bit of that with the spin-offs with The Walking Dead. As we know, Isle of the Dead, they're going to have running walkers, and who knows what happens in Europe, but I have a feeling it's going to be just as crazy. They're going to have new cast members. And I remember you said there was some scuttlebutt of people online complaining of the turnover for this series. And man, I didn't think it was going to survive season 5 when all these people started leaving with the Nick and Travis and all that stuff. And there was a lot of people just bouncing. And then, of course, with Madison leaving and Strand sticking around, and to the point that they had to bring in Dwight and Morgan from Walking Dead proper. They had to do it. They needed cast members to fill it out. And is that going to happen now? But on the other hand, it's good. You want new characters. New characters makes things fresh. It happens in everything. And when it comes to all aspects of life, it happens in the workplace. You need new workers to help things. It happens in sport teams. You have a sport team. Oh, the left back or whatever isn't solid. We need to get new players. You need new pieces to keep things fresh. And unfortunately, this show, every time we see new characters, they die within the same episode. They don't ever get a chance to flourish. I think the only one that did was Howard, and he just got tossed off. So there
that's true.
Yeah, and JD Senior, he came in, and we thought he was going to have a good run, and I guess he had some good episodes. But man, he's gone now. He debuted last season, or should I say, was it last year or the early part of this season? No, last season. Yeah, last season, because the early part of the season was when they were already in the bunker from the explosion. So he debuted, it was the last season, season 6, we see him. And then now he's gone. So, I'm looking forward to it. And I would be surprised if we see some little crossovers, because, yes, this show, it's clear that it's going to not outlast, but I should say continue on now that we know Walking Dead proper is coming to its end. I'm sure some of those cast members will either carry over into Fear the Walking Dead or some of the other spin-offs. We already know Daryl with the Europe, but who knows? Maybe for some of the other ones. We can see some of the other ones pop up. And especially if you have all these other cast members that are leaving. If for some reason this thing with Morgan is a thing and he's gone, well, what are you going to have? You have Morgan gone and Alicia gone? That's 2 big holes. And then with Dwight and Sherry, then you got to have one of them step up and really play a major role. But we'll have to wait and see. And then a new bad guy or something. They need some new villain to come into it, because this whole thing, if this ends with Strand, then that's it. It's a happy ending, right?
Well, Well, yeah, I mean, I know that they've already confirmed that season 8 is going to be filmed in Georgia. They're going from Texas to Georgia, so I'm pretty sure that Morgan will still be around. But yeah, they have to answer questions
That's
about some
right.
other people.
That plays a big part. People don't understand that plays a big part because they have a massive set out there in Georgia, and this could be interesting. Now to think about it, because then maybe he does find his way back.
Hmm.
Maybe he does find his way back. And he that walkie-talkie is super powerful. They found a good antenna, and he tells everybody else, come follow me." I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. But they clearly have plans for Morgan and where him and Baby Mo. And I'm curious more about that than I am about the whole, oh, we're going to fight the tower, which I don't think makes much sense. And that whole situation. But we'll see how this plays out. Because I think, how many more seasons, episodes do we have for this one? I don't even, 13, 16? I think there's 16 episodes this season. So we got a few more to go because it's episode 13. So we'll see, people. But you know what? Stick with it. We're almost done. And we'll see if they can stick the landing in some way. Because, man, this had a strong start, right? We were hyped. We got the sub. We got radioactive walkers everywhere. I mean, we still don't know about these stalkers. Maybe the stalkers are going to... which will respond to the call for help. We don't know much about them besides the fact that they have guns and they don't know how to use them because we saw them die instantly when they tried to go in to do the whole Charlie situation. We'll see if she dies, which I think she is. That's the way June made it seem like she's definitely going to die. So there's your turnover right there for a character who's been around for a while. Mm-hmm. And that is it, people. We'll be back next week for episode 14. And to quote Carol, look at the flowers.